little louder.
Earlier today, I was listening to Glenn Greenwald and Tucker Carlson, and they were discussing the concept that the right is hypocritical because we're offended by people saying from the river to the sea, that we're being snowflakes about it, as we have used the term before, and that it's free speech. And I'm just wondering where you feel, is there a line there?
It's a great question. I mean, calling for the death of the Jews is free speech. Being a Nazi is free speech. Saying that blacks should be segregated or sent back to Africa, Jews should be sent back to Poland or Germany, that's all free speech. And I wouldn't stop that free speech, but I would condemn it. And the same thing is true. I wouldn't prevent people from saying from the river to the sea. I would just argue with it and argue that it's wrong. Now, here's the problem. Today on campus, you can say from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free of Jews. You can say that. But if I tried to go to a college campus today and say that the Palestinian people really are not a legitimate group for statehood, I think I'd be banned. I think there's a double standard of free speech. And as long as there's a single standard, I'm in favor of complete free speech in the marketplace of ideas. But I'd love to ask, look, Tucker Carlson banned me from his show when he was on Fox because when he was talking about immigration, I said, Tucker, I've looked up your family history, and you were the grandson of Irish immigrants. And you ought to be more sympathetic to immigrants in general. I'm not talking about illegal immigrants, immigrants in general. And he got furious at me and told his staff never to allow me to be on a show again. So much for free speech. And, you know, we're seeing so much in my book, The War on Woke. There's so much denial of free speech from the left. Particularly, I'm not talking about Tucker Carlson now. Greenwald, I don't even know whether he's left or right. I can never understand. I debated him recently. I never understand which side he comes from. But Tucker Carlson, we know what side he comes from. So for me, I'm a free speech. I'm an almost absolutist. I don't think there should be free speech for somebody to name our spies or give out our nuclear codes or do things that pose a direct danger. But when it comes to political speech, I'm as long as we can debate in the market. I got a call today from a school in the United States college. They asked me if I would come and speak about Israel, and I said, sure. And then I got a call back saying, well, they won't let you speak about Israel unless you are willing to debate an anti-Israel speaker. Will you do that? And I said, sure, on one condition. That rule is a uniform rule, that you wouldn't allow a pro-Palestinian speaker to speak without there being a pro-Israel speaker. If you can assure me that the rule is neutral, I will come. And they're going to get back to me and see if that can happen. Okay.
Professor Dershowitz?
Yeah.
My name's Cecilia. It's so good to talk to home. We're from the same neck of the woods. And so I'm really glad you're here. But I want to change the topic for a moment. I've kind of reviewed the OJ trial quite a bit.
Yeah.
Some people here don't even know what that is. But I found it hard for one man, even though he was supposedly a big man, to massacre two people and come away with just a scrape on his finger, knowing Ron Goldman was a black belt in karate. How did one man do all that?
Well, you know, that's a question I can't answer. I don't know the answer. Look, first of all, even if OJ Simpson had confessed to me that he did it, I couldn't tell you that as his lawyer. And I'll tell you a funny story about that. When Bibi Netanyahu got elected prime minister, it was 1996. Carol and I were in Israel. I was writing a book. And I had known Bibi since he was a student at MIT. And so he invited us and our daughter to come to the prime minister's office and take pictures and stuff. So we did. And then he pulled me aside and said, Alan, there's a question I'm dying to ask you. I've been dying to ask you for a long time. I thought he was going to ask me about Iran or Palestinians. He said, did OJ do it? And I said, Mr. Prime Minister, there's a question I've been dying to ask you. Does Israel have nuclear weapons? And he said, well, you know I can't tell you that. And I said, well, you know I can't tell you that. So the issue on which we won the OJ case was not guilt or innocence. It was the fact that the government planted a piece of evidence. It was a sock that was found near OJ's bed, and they claimed to have found his blood and the blood of the victims on the sock. And we were able to prove that the blood had in it a chemical called EDTA, which is not found in the human body but found in test tubes. So we were able to prove that the police had poured blood from a test tube onto the sock, and that's how we won the case. During the dinner before this tonight, one of our brilliant questioners asked me, so, is it true most of your clients have been guilty? And I said, yes, and thank God for that. Would anybody want to live in a country where the majority of people charged with crime are innocent? You know, that's Iran, that's Syria, that's China, that's Russia. It's not the United States. Of course the majority of people charged with crime are guilty, which means that every lawyer represents people who are guilty. Sometimes our goal is to just get the charge reduced, to plea bargain. Sometimes it's to try to challenge the government's evidence. But the best way to make sure that most people tried for crime are guilty is for everybody to receive a zealous defense. And that's what I've tried to do over the last half century. OJ Simpson was a challenging case, and I lost a couple of friends over that, not much. But when I represented Donald Trump, virtually every one of my friends on Martha's Vineyard turned against me, and against my wife, and against my family. And it was just pure McCarthyism, holding the client responsible, the lawyer responsible for the client. I'm going to continue to represent people that you don't like and that I don't like. And that's the job of the lawyer, just as it is the job of my grandchildren, both of whom are doctors and work in emergency rooms, and they don't ask the question when somebody's wheeled in with a heart attack, are you a Republican or a Democrat? They ask the question, do you have a heart attack? And as a lawyer, I have to behave similarly. I have to raise constitutional issues on behalf of people I don't like. I have sometimes, in my heart of hearts, in the middle of the night, when I'm defending somebody, actually rooted for his conviction. I don't ever act on that, but I say with my fingers crossed, it wouldn't hurt me at all if this guy, you know, I defended Nazis in Skokie. I was hoping they'd be hit by a bus, but I didn't want them to be censored because that affects us all.